Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is not a guide, but I really wanted to share with you my point of view on the current development of the game and what I find to be the main issues with it. If you find this to be an interesting topic, please make sure to also let me know your opinion in the comments and to join our Discord to meet our amazing community. Now, before we start, just to be clear, I love this game. It is not only my passion, but a big part of my profession as well, as a content creator. However, I cannot help but feel that the development is not going in the right direction. There are several issues with it, so let me put them down. Now, if I had to describe the problem in one sentence, I would say that in HOI4 currently there is too much quantity and too little quality. Let's take a few examples of this. A few days ago, I was recording my latest historical Soviet Union guide. A great run, by the way, you should check it out. Either way, I finally get to a full-scale Barbarossa. The most exciting part of the run. Big encirclements, big fights. I can't wait to use my amazing tank divisions and... oh, wait a second, I need to unlock a new MIO perk and update my tank design. Oh, the plane design also needs to be updated. Right, let's do it. Literally 2 in-game days after, I need to fix trade, as I got new factories. Then pick researches. And my spy got injured. New doctrines. I need to make sure I check the intel network not to lose it. Oh, and there is an incoming enemy raid. Maybe I should ignore it. And, well, it goes on and on and on. And finally, I can focus on my offensives. Let me trigger this spearhead command. Except, it's bugged. And my tanks just gather up in one tile, stop, and die of attrition. The point being, what was supposed to be the most fun part of the run turned into a slog. And while, yes, in theory you can ignore MIOs and you can ignore trade and take care of it later, well, that's really not optimal. But especially, this should not be necessary. First of all, it should obviously be possible to save your MIO preferences and import them in later games. Exactly like you can finally do with tank and plane designs, but that took a while. Also, obviously, MIOs should automatically upgrade your designs, because having to do it manually for each design is a nightmare. It's stupid, it's not fun. And it should be possible to have an option in the trade tab to automatically adjust a trade, an icon up here that you click, and then whenever you need steel, the game automatically imports steel if possible. Now, ideally, it would be optimal to have one for each resource type, but I would be happy enough with a generic one that works for all of them. That's fine. What would also be nice is for my spearheads to work properly instead of messing up my divisions every time. Speaking of which, regular offensive lines should also be adjusted so that the units actually push in the direction of the offensive line rather than the whole front in all directions. Everything I listed so far could be summed up as quality of life and bug fixes. Overall, let's say quality, or better, lack of quality. So what about quantity instead? Well, I'll be honest, I can't help but feel that the game is currently bloated with secondary, nearly useless features. Now, while some of them are undeniably cool and useful, like the tank and the plane designers, and some are annoying and not fun, but definitely impactful, like MIOs, some features just feel completely useless. Like, for example, how often do you use raids? And how often do you use your spies for something other than collaboration governments, or the more situational diplomatic pressure and root out resistance? How often do you use the international market? How often do you research special projects which are not the assault engineer company and a flame tank? Now, every new DLC that comes out, I'm genuinely scared about the amount of additional bloatware that will be released into the game. Here we come to another problem though. You. The HOI4 community seems to be never happy with what the developers are doing. In Trial of Allegiance, they reworked the South American countries, and some of them became very, very powerful. A bit like Finland in Arms Against Tyranny. So the community complained that they were too OP and that this is not historical. And what's the consequence of that? Well, we get a graveyard of empires in which most new countries suck and cannot do anything until 1939. That's on you, at least partially. Moreover, whenever they don't add the new features, you complain that no new features were added to the game with a new DLC. But again, I don't really think we need even more quantity. What we need is more quality, with a huge amount of content that the game already has to offer. And the funny thing in all of that is that somehow it looks like Paradox is managing to disappoint both you, asking for more content, and me, asking for more quality, by adding more and more questionable, to say the least, stuff. One of the big complaints about Graveyard of Empires was the amount of meme paths in the game, like the East India Company just buying out the wood, or war elephants outperforming tanks in a World War II game. And what do? They come up with these new tank prototypes. I will just pretend I didn't see these and pretend it doesn't exist. Maybe if we don't talk about it, it doesn't really exist. Jokes aside though, I feel like a great part of the HOI4 community, like me, is made of people passionate about history and in love with the historical part of the game. I mean, you can play Stellaris if you want something more in the science fiction field. Personally, I don't mind the occasional Easter egg or meme alternative history path. I mean, we all love the bear, don't we? I also don't mind some alt history minors, like Finland for example, becoming incredibly powerful. The game doesn't have to be exactly like history. In fact, it should give you the opportunity to change history if you play it correctly. That's the whole point of the game. But more importantly, it should be fun. And Fascist Finland is a lot of fun. Historical Afghanistan? Not so much. The bigger problem, however, is when the only decently fun paths are the alternative history meme ones, like it happened with Graveyard of Empires. Then we do have an issue. And now I think that Graveyard of Empires is actually the perfect representation of what we are talking about here. It was a rushed DLC going in the wrong direction. It was not the content the community asked for. Japan and US, I'm looking at you. It was not enough quantity to satisfy the community, with mods offering more and for free. And it was not the quality the community deserved, not having been tested enough with several bugs and broken paths and so on. But especially, it was not fun. Now, they are working on it, so maybe something good will eventually come out of it. I really hope so. Let's see. What I'm more worried about, though, is the overall direction of development. And while regular new content is very, very important to keep the game alive and keep people interested, I kind of wish they slowed down a bit, released a bit less stuff, but more meaningful one and with a higher level of quality. Because guys, exactly like when you design tanks, quality is king, not quantity. Now, I'm very curious to hear your point of view on this, especially if you disagree with me. Now, one argument I can already see coming is, why don't you just disable DLCs and remove all of that additional content you don't like? And I actually do that sometimes. The vanilla experience of the game can be quite satisfying and refreshing after having to deal with all of these new additional features. However, as a content creator, I think it would be best for my videos to include all of the new content, and the general point stands. I mean, I would like to see new content, but I would like to see it being fun and high quality. Either way, let me know in the comments what you think about this. And of course, guys, as always, if you enjoy the content I make, please do not forget to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and again, leaving me a comment. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys very soon in the next video. Bye bye!